Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners and staff, and public, and welcome to the City of Paterson Planning Board meeting of Wednesday, January 20th, 2021 via webinar session. Chairwoman Northrop.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Please rise with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, Commissioners, Planning Board staff, ladies and gentlemen, as Chairwoman of the City of Paterson's Planning Board, I call this meeting of 1/20/21 to order. I hereby state that all the provisions of the State of New Jersey Public Meeting Law have been fully and completely met, that the notice of provisions required have been properly posted in the Planning Board office and with the City of Paterson clerk, and that the public notice and advertisements have been published in the Herald News on 1/11/21 in accordance with the law, and that the copies of such notice and public advertisements are on file in the Planning Board office, as is also the agenda listing the applications to be taken up by the Planning Board at this meeting. The procedures tonight will be in accordance with the rules, regulations, and bylaws as heretofore determined by the Planning Board at its office in the municipal complex in the City of Paterson. Roll call, please.
Commissioners, Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Fisher. Absent. Commissioner Ahmed.
Present.
Commissioner Brooks.
Present.
Commissioner Savalos is absent. Commissioner Cleves. Present. Commissioner Santana. Present. Commissioner Isa is absent. Commissioner Eugene.
I'm here, absent.
Thank you. Commissioner Cook.
Present.
Councilman Kalik is absent. And Chairwoman Northrop.
Present.
We have 7 commissioners in attendance this evening.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, notice pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act addressing effective coronavirus measures on the next public meeting, consistent with the coronavirus-related restrictions of Executive Order Number 107, given on Saturday, March 21st, 2020, by Governor Philip D. Murphy. The Planning Board of the City of Paterson will not conduct in-person participation of the public at all future meetings until further notice. However, public participation will be available by means of communication equipment pursuant to the NJSA 10:4-8, commencing on April 15th, 2020. Though there may potentially be a practical need for a limited number of administrative, technical, or other city personnel to be present in or near the council chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall, 155 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey, in-person participation of the public is prohibited. Nevertheless, for reasons of compliance with the said Executive Order Number 107, public participation will be available by calling 973-321-1579. The meeting ID is 711-680-001, and I will repeat that later. Planning Board regular meeting of Wednesday, January 20th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on the date and time that the meeting is scheduled to commence. The public may also participate in the meeting by accessing the website of the City of Paterson, www.patersonnj.gov, and following the email link for the meeting, www.paterson.gov/planning board. Okay, it's my understanding tonight we have 2 applications to be heard. One is at 727 East 27th Street, LLC. The other one is the Power Gas, Inc., 195 21st Avenue. Am I correct, Mr. Deutsch?
Madam Chairwoman, you are correct. I have an email dated December 29th from the office of Alan Mariconda saying that 81-83 Lafayette Street, which the applicant is 727 East 27th Street LLC. The applicant hereby withdraws this application scheduled for January 20th, 2021 without prejudice to possible refiling.
Okay, all right, so then tonight, our only, application is the, I just had it here, is the, Power Gas Inc., 195 21st Avenue, located 200-204 Madison Street, correct? That's it?
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Maricondo, are you representing this applicant?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair. I'm Eric Conlon, on behalf of Power Gas Inc.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you, I know we have problems all the time, with your microphone. I hear you, but it's very faint, so just try to, I know, lean in and speak up. I don't know what goes on over here with that particular microphone, but whatever it is, just start yelling, okay? All right,
One or two times we had some difficulty.
Now I hear you.
Okay, good.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
This is
what's going me? Yeah, oh, okay, so, you're in attendance, Vice Chair? Mark?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, all right, let the record reflect that, Mark Fisher is now in attendance for this meeting. Thank you.
Duly noted.
Okay, so, we'll continue then. The Power Gas Inc., 195 21st Avenue, AKA 200-204 Madison Street, Block 6008, Lot 6. The applicant proposes to remove and demolish the existing one-island, two-pump service station with a repair garage and proposes to construct a new 525 square foot office/storage sundry sales building, new underground storage tanks, 2 new pump islands with a total of 5 pumps, and a new canopy. 120 square foot restroom and electrical room is also proposed. 4 off-street parking spaces are proposed. The site has access from 21st Avenue and Madison Street. The lot has an area of 6,607 square feet and is located in the C-1 Neighborhood Commercial District of the 5th Ward redevelopment plan and requires site plan approval on both variances. This application has been carried from the December 16, 2020 meeting. Okay, Mr. French, can we have, I know somebody's throat, so let's try to block everything out. I think I hear a dog. I hear, whatever background anybody has on, please make sure it's all turned off so that we can hear and it can be recorded. This meeting can be recorded properly. Okay,
Property taxes, yes, property taxes and sewer charges are current. Persons that have 10% or more ownership interest in Power Gas Inc. are Mr. Ingress, providing an address of 2449 Morris Avenue, Union, New Jersey. The neighborhood commercial district is designed to provide retail and personal service businesses which supply the everyday needs of the neighborhood residents. The district permits operations which provide a convenience to area residents as opposed to larger scale businesses which are prohibited in this district in order to maintain a neighborhood atmosphere and prevent traffic congestion. Joseph Argenio, PE, has prepared an 11-page site plan application with an original date of March 12, 2020 and with revisions dated June 10, 2020. Drawing number T1 is the title page and indicates the job scope, the zoning data table, and the owner and applicant. The plan indicates the parcel's frontage of 77 feet on Madison Street, additional frontage of 83.89 feet on 21st Avenue, and side and rear yard lot lines of 77 feet and 87.72 feet. A one-story masonry building and 1 gasoline pump island with 2 pumps exist on the parcel. Parcel's lot area of 6,607 square feet. A sandboard map from the 1950s indicates a gasoline filling station with a building existing on this parcel. It is also likely that an auto repair facility existed. The building shown on the sandboard map appears in the same that the existing building to be removed. The app proposes to remove the existing building in its entirety, which currently contains 3 auto repair bays and a convenience. Although not the building proposed
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Deutsch, your voice is breaking up, so I don't know, Melinda, can you hear what he's saying?
He's breaking up.
He's breaking up, okay, before you go any further, let me just see if the IT department can check it out and make sure that you're okay there, because you were doing good and all of a sudden it broke up. Madam Secretary.
Yes, Chairwoman.
Yes, could you please see if IT can look into something, Mike's microphone, see, when he's talking, he seems to be breaking up.
All right, I will.
Mike, you can try it, and if she can hear you, that's fine, maybe they'll work on it while you're doing, if we can hear you, if you're not breaking up that much.
best thing you heard me say clearly.
Yeah. It's probably,
Mr. Deutsch, I need you to disconnect and reconnect. It's your internet connection. Mr. Paterson. Did you hear me?
Yes, I'm gonna do. Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait.
we'll wait. Oh. Sorry for the delay, everyone, but this has to be, corrected so that, Linda can record this properly, so just bear with us.
Don't worry, we got you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So I'm going to ask Melinda. Melinda, can you tell me the last paragraph that you were able to hear?
Second.
Okay.
It's a little after a Sanborn map from the 1950s indicates a gasoline filling station with a building existing on this parcel.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start from number 6.
Okay, good enough. Go for it.
A Sanborn map from the 1950s indicates a gasoline filling station with a building existing on this parcel. It is also likely that motor repair facility existed. The building shown on the Sanborn map appears in the same general space that the existing building removed is located on. The applicant proposes to remove the existing building in its entirety, which currently contains 3 auto repair bays and a convenience store. Although not dimensioned, the existing building proposed to be removed has approximate dimensions of 29 feet in width and 60 feet in length. Drawing number F2 is the proposed site plan. The applicant was advised to construct the access driveways a minimum of 25 feet from the intersecting property lines of 21st Avenue and Madison Street, but has proposed the driveways 25 feet from the curb lines of the intersection of 21st Avenue and Madison Street. This requires a waiver since this construction is on the public right-of-way. Relief can only be granted by the City of Paterson engineer as this is public right-of-way and under the jurisdiction of the Department of Public Works. There is one 25-foot access driveway proposed on Madison Street and two 25-foot access driveways proposed on 21st Avenue. 5 off-street parking spaces are being proposed, including one handicap space. A handicap parking space is to be located on the east side of the proposed building, and the remaining 4 parking spaces are to be located perpendicular to the western side property line. The proposed office, storage, sundry sales building has dimensions of 15 feet in width and 35 feet in length, and area of 525 square feet. The restroom and electrical room building is a separate building attached to the northern side of the office, storage, sundry sales building, and has dimensions of 5 feet in width and 15 feet in length. Presently, the service station has no canopy for its 2-pump, 1-island station. The proposed 34-foot by 47-foot canopy is proposed to be located 5 feet from the 21st Avenue property line and 8 feet from the Madison Street property line. Drawing number S3 is the site details and indicates pavement details, concrete tank pad details, handicap ramp section, concrete pad manhole, and concrete wheel stop detail. Drawing number S4 is the traffic plan and is revised to June 10th, 2020. The delivery plan is located on the left side of the drawing and indicates that fuel delivery trucks will proceed south on Madison Street and enter the site by making a right-hand turn into the site. The fuel truck will then proceed below the proposed canopy. The cab of the truck will stop facing 21st Avenue, and the tanker portion will remain partially under the canopy. The underground fuel tanks and hatches are located on the western side of the property. The vehicle stacking plan indicates that a total of 8 vehicles can be placed under the canopy at one time in a 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 arrangement. Any additional vehicles will illegally be stacked within the city right-of-way. The plan indicates right turns only into the site from Madison Street, which is a one-way street in a southerly direction, and right turns out of the site from 21st Avenue, which is a two-way street. The plans do not indicate how enforcement will be done to prevent vehicles from making left turns into the site from 21st Avenue, or how vehicles will be prevented from making left turns out of the site from 21st Avenue. As a maximum of 19 feet exists between the end of the 4 parking space location and from where the front of a vehicle is being refueled, it is less than the standard 24 feet for a vehicle to reverse from its parking space and complete a turn. The applicant's proposal requires and relies on all vehicles that enter the site to do so from Madison Street. This seems unlikely as 21st Avenue is the main travel way. No signage is proposed to indicate that vehicles cannot enter the site from 21st Avenue, and driveways are not designed to prevent vehicles from entering the site from 21st Avenue. The planning board shall determine that said driveways are designed for maximum safety to persons and property. Although the applicant is reducing some of the on-site traffic by removing the auto repair aspect of the business, the doubling of the gasoline pumps from 2 pumps to 5 pumps and increasing the floor area of the convenience store may increase the number of vehicles utilizing the site. The applicant has not provided a traffic report. Drawing number G1 is the tank and pump plan. Drawing number G2 is the fuel details plan. Drawing number A1 indicates the canopy and kiosk details. The canopy has a width of 34 feet along 21st Avenue and a length of 47 feet along Madison Street. In addition to the 2 proposed pump islands, a prefab structure for employee use is proposed on one side of the pump islands. Drawing number A2 indicates the front elevation of the convenience store. The store has a height of 13 feet. There is a 3-foot lower brick veneer and a vertical vinyl siding above. There is one passage door and a glass sliding window. Drawing number SN1 indicates that the applicant proposes a freestanding sign at the northeast corner of 21st Avenue and Madison Street, and additional signage on the eastern and western canopy elevations. An additional sign will be placed on the convenience store. The freestanding sign will most likely include LED electric lettering to display the price per gallon of fuel. Drawing number SN2 is the lighting plan. 2 types of lighting fixtures are indicated on the plans. Gasoline filling stations require 1 space per pumping island and 1 space for every 2 employees on the maximum shift. Standalone convenience stores require 1 parking space for every 150 square feet of gross floor area. As there are 2 pumping islands, 2 parking spaces are required. As there are 2 employees on the maximum shifts, an additional 1 parking space is required. As the convenience store is 525 square feet, 3.5 parking spaces are required. 6 parking spaces are required, however, by 5th Ward. 6 parking spaces are required. However, the 5th Ward redevelopment plan relaxes parking requirements for retail uses by exempting the first 5,000 square feet of gross retail square footage from the parking requirement, which would take into account the convenience store. The applicant requests a variance from having the underground storage tanks closer than the minimum of 35 feet to the adjacent property line located to the west. Existing non-conforming conditions will continue for lot area, as a minimum lot area of 15,000 square feet is required and 6,607 square feet exists, and for lot width, as a minimum lot width of 100 feet is required and 87 feet exists. The applicant advises, as per the zoning ordinance, there is no other gasoline filling station within 300 feet of this proposal, that there is no theater, auditorium, church, hospital, college, school, public library, playground, or athletic field, or other place of public assembly within 200 feet of this parcel. The applicant employs 4 persons. The applicant proposes to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days per week. The plans have been sent to the city engineer for review and approval. It shall be the responsibility of the applicant and/or the preparer of the plan to obtain a letter from the city engineer indicating the plans have been satisfactorily reviewed prior to the plans being released to the construction official. Surrounding land uses. This proposal is in the Sandy Hill section of the city. 21st Avenue is a major local commercial shopping corridor in the city. The intersection with State Street is located 100 feet to the west. Both the New Jersey Transit Railway line and Route 80 are located in close proximity to this location. Concluding remarks. The applicant estimates the cost of this proposal at approximately $250,000. Any certificate of occupancy issued should indicate that this is a gasoline filling station with a convenience store with any new conditions established by the planning board. Any previous certificate of occupancy for automobile mechanical repairs is null and void. That is your staff review for this proposal, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Deutsch. Mr. Maricondo?
Yes, good evening again, Madam Chair and Commissioners. We'll be presenting this application with 3 witnesses this evening on behalf of Power Gas. We'll be calling Mr. Joe Argenio of Napier Architecture. We'll be calling Mr. John Curak of Stonefield Engineering with regard to traffic, as well as the applicant, who will also be available for testimony. At this time, we would like to begin with the architect who has prepared the site plan in question. I would indicate that we will be able to address, hopefully to the board's satisfaction, all the issues that are raised in Mr. Deutsch's report. We would just like to indicate primarily that this is a site that I'm sure many of the commissioners, if not all, are familiar with. This site, as Mr. Deutsch accurately indicated, basically an established service station and at one time active repair shop going back to the 1950s and probably earlier. Served residential and business community in this neighborhood for many, many years, obviously. And what the applicant is trying to do, and he has extensive, many years of experience at this site, other sites in the city of Paterson, to substantially upgrade, substantially upgrade this site, to bring it up to modern standards in terms of number of pumps, the availability of services such as the convenience store, and more safe and efficient way of operating the business. And of course, the elimination many years ago of the repair shop has reduced the intensity of the site. That being said, we're going to call Mr. Joe Argenio at this time as our first witness.
Thanks, Mr. Americano. This is Joseph Argenio with Navier Engineering. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes. Do you have a camera on?
You're going to be sworn in, Joe.
Okay, hang on a second.
Please put your camera on, Jim.
Yes. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Mr. Argenio, could you give the board the benefit of your professional background and licensing?
Sure, yes, I'm a professional engineer licensed in the state of New Jersey, the state of Pennsylvania, and the state of Maryland. I've had my license for 6 years now, practicing on design and builds and redevelopments of mainly fueling stations, including convenience stores. I've had multiple projects in the state of New Jersey, the state of Pennsylvania. I previously was employed with Local North America before I Navier Engineering, and I was redeveloping convenience stores, gas stations, and dispensers during my time at Local North America and during my time here with Navier Engineering. I'm also working with Mr. Singh on several different development projects. We have several projects going on throughout the state of New Jersey. This is one of them, and mainly Mr. Singh asked me to help develop this neighborhood and to eliminate the car maintenance center and to provide a place of retail sales for the gas station and to improve upon the neighborhood and the gas station.
Okay, Mr. Argenio, I'm just going to ask the chair to accept.
I will accept him as an expert witness, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Americano, you're gonna have to speak up again, now you're fading in and out, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Mr. Argenio, you need to post your plans for the board, okay?
Okay. Would I be sharing my screen as posting the plans, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you
No
have
problem.
to speak to describe your site plan.
Sure. Alright, so this is the title page, which was talked about by the planning official, showing the zoning data tables, the owner applicant, and the planning board information, as well as a job scope, which was detailed previously by the planning, by the zoning, Mr. Michael Deutsch, is it? Oh, okay, thank you. So this is for, again, 195 21st Avenue in Paterson, New Jersey, and the next page, S1, is an existing conditions plan, which shows the existing masonry building that is to be demolished, also showing the existing pumps and the kiosk and the gasoline tanks on the site. So this is mainly just an existing conditions plan and a demolition site plan, showing that the building, the pumps, and the tanks will be removed from the site. I'm going to move on to the next page. If anyone has any, Mr. Americano, if you need to direct me to do any questions or anything like that, please let me know.
No problem. At this point, you can, continue with your description of your plan.
Okay. Alright, so the second S2 is the proposed site plan, which shows two new gasoline tanks one proposed at 15,000 gallons, and the second is a split tank of 8,000 gallons and 7,000 gallons. The proposed 15,000 gallon tank is for regular fuel, and that's a 10-inch diameter by 30 feet in length tank. The split tank is also 15,000 gallons, split between 8 and 7, as I said before, also 10 feet in diameter, 30 feet in length, with a proposed concrete tank pad in the vicinity of where the existing tanks were located. I know there was some comment about the tanks being close to the adjacent property. Essentially, if you look at the previous plan, the existing tanks were even closer to the property, so this change in the tank location is placing the proposed tanks away from the adjacent property. Also, this plan shows the 5 gasoline pumps and a relocated kiosk with stainless steel U-bollards at the site. In addition, the office building and the restroom, as stated previously, is shown on this site, with the new canopy being 47 feet by 34 feet. Also, the job scope and zoning notes are included for clarification on this plan. The overall job scope on a brief summary is to demolish the existing service station building, excavate and remove existing underground fuel storage tanks, as well as the product and vapor recovery piping, install the new tanks that are double wall fiberglass tanks. Additionally, constructing new fuel islands and pumps, connecting those pumps to the gasoline tanks through a fiberglass double wall product line, and installing a new single wall fiberglass vent piping as shown. Additionally, I brought up the canopy, site plan and location. Additionally, pre-manufactured building was shown on future plans here, as I'll get to, showing the architecture of that building. And some additional minor items are to repair and install pavement markers, and the freestanding sign, which we'll also get to in the next couple pages. The zoning notes, as was referred to previously, 4 regular parking spaces and 1 handicap parking space, and all construction is to be per building code and City of Paterson municipal code. Moving on to the site details here. There is a concrete pavement detail. The concrete pavement is going to be 6 inches thick at 3,500 PSI concrete with a 6x6 wire mesh. And that should be placed on top of 4 inches of quarry processed stone and compacted subgrade. That's just the concrete pavement detail. There is also the concrete pad detail, showing similar thickness and strength of concrete, as well as handicap details as per ADA requirements, U-bollards and all site-specific details for the site. The next plan is the traffic plan. Mr. Americano, I don't know if we wanted to bring in Mr. Korak on maybe some analysis here for the traffic plan, as he's more of the specialist in the fueling, access, and the vehicle stacking.
He will be able to cover those issues for sure. So if there's any part of your site plan that you would like to defer to him, as you indicated, we can do that, not a problem.
Okay. So as stated previously, the tanker truck is going to be coming down Madison Street and turning into the site, stopping at this location here and fueling into the new tanks. So this route here allows for traffic not to be inhibited on the site, and for the fueling tanker truck to access the site in a good flow pattern, and won't inhibit customers and other customers that are either fueling or visiting the retail store. The vehicle stacking shown here is shown as the most possible vehicles that can be stacked at the station at one time. So this was generated to show that this is the amount and the full capacity of vehicles that could be on the site. Going into the next plan, G1 tank and pump plan. This shows a pipe trench and dispenser connection detail, showing a cross section of the dispensers and how they are connected into the piping underground. This flexible fiberglass double wall piping then is connected into the new gasoline tanks, which is shown in this schematic here. This schematic also shows not only the piping from the pumps into the tank, but it also shows the vent piping that comes out from the tanks. And this vent piping is needed in order to alleviate pressure from the tanks, from the vapors that are occurring in the tanks, and that's then discharged to atmosphere as per normal API standards and normal operation of a fueling station. The next plan shows even more specific details to the fueling operation. Not only does it show dispenser piping, there's also pipe trench details, which again show the double wall product piping and the single wall vapor recovery piping and undisturbed earth. And it shows the depths that the piping should be installed. And it shows that there's a pea gravel and a stone base and gravel to be compacted for the pipe trench. There's also a containment sump. This sump containment is a manhole that goes around the piping underneath the dispenser pumps as a measure to contain the fueling. Additionally, there is overflow container grounding, remote fills and tank fills, tank gauge assemblies that will monitor level, gasoline levels in the tank, the vapor connection, overfill float vent valve, and then there is a view of the tanks and all the components that go into the fueling tank, such as the fill, the vapor recovery, and the manholes with liquid level probes set at a certain height in order to know the level of the tank and how much needs to be, how much is being pumped out and how much needs to be refueled. The next plan, A1, shows the proposed front canopy elevation. This canopy is 14 feet 6 inches in height. It also shows the canopy being above the fuel pumps and U-shaped bollards around the pumps in order to protect it from traffic. The center columns are 10 feet apart from center to center. There's additional canopy elevation views that show the canopy being 47 feet in length. Additional details showing anchorage of the doors and elevations of the doors that are going to be installed on the building. And there's also loading, roof live loads and floor live loads and wind loads of the building, as well as electrical circuits that will be installed for the building. The next page is A2, which shows an elevation view of the building. There is a vinyl vertical siding and a brick veneer. The building is 13 feet in height, and it shows a door and 2 windows. This schematic here is an instrumentation schematic. That's for electrical instrumentation for the kiosk tanks and the pumps. There is a low voltage trough and a high voltage trough, which then connects electrically to the meter root, which monitors tank level in the gasoline tanks. Also connected to the trough are the Gilbarco or Wayne dispensers. Those are the pumps. The following page, A3, shows the, SN1 shows the existing ID sign detail that will be installed on the site, and it also shows the canopy elevation and the logo that will be installed on the site, as well as the ADA parking sign. The next page is the lighting plan, SN2, again showing the two different types of lights that will be installed at the site. These numbers here and this grid is a foot candle analysis that shows that almost all of the light will be on the site, and it dissipates as it moves away from the site. So a value of 49.2 foot candles can be shown in the middle of the site, and as it dissipates away, it's only at 0.2, 0.1 foot candles. So these lights are shown here on this grid pattern to only be focused on the site and the center of the site, and it dissipates as it leaves the site. And then there's an additional table here that shows this analysis and the quantity of lights that are going to be installed. So there's 12 of the Scottsdale and 2 of the Challenger. And that concludes the plans here that I'm sharing on the screen. If there's any questions, again, just direct them to myself, Mr. Mariconda, and Mr. Korak.
Okay. Mr. Argenio, you've obviously had an opportunity to review Mr. Deutsch's report, and I know you touched on some of the issues. Some will be covered by Mr. Deutsch, Mr. Korak, excuse me. Is there anything else that you wanted to specifically reference in terms of his comments and his planning review, or do you feel you've covered all the issues that pertain to your testimony?
One of the items that I wanted to address was item number 7, where it says drawing S2 is the proposed site plan. We did show the driveway access to be 25 feet from the curb lines, and we are requiring a waiver from the city of Paterson in order to do so. I don't feel that this deviates tremendously from the 25 feet from the intersecting property lines of 21st Avenue and Madison Street. So that's just something that I wanted to point out, that there's not much of a deviation, and having those curb cuts at the locations that we show allow for better traffic flow, and that's the reason why we were asking for a waiver.
Understood. And so that would be an issue that the city engineer would address, perhaps at a point after approval, if you were to be granted approval. And in your estimation, this is a functional setup that similar to other ones that you've constructed in the past?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Anything else from Mr. Deutsch's report? How about number 24 regarding the tanks, the waiver regarding the variance regarding tanks being closer than the minimum 35 feet to the adjacent property line?
Thanks, Mr. Americano. Yeah, I touched on that previously. The existing tanks are closer than what we were proposing. The existing tanks are almost up against the property line, so we are moving the new tanks, 20 to 25 feet away from the adjacent property line.
Right.
I know there is a variance that's being requested. In order to make the site work, we are requesting a variance. We hope it's granted and approved, and we are doing our best to, adhere to those requirements. We knew those requirements, and we moved the proposed tank away from that adjacent property line.
So your diligence was that this is a substantial substantially better location than previously existing.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. All right, would that conclude any other comments that you would have at this time, subject to questions?
Yeah, that concludes all my comments, subject to questions, yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, I'm gonna ask this, Daniela, please, stand by. I'm gonna open this up to the public. Okay, if there's anyone from the public that has any questions, Mr. Eugenio, please, give a call at 973-321-1579. And the meeting ID number is 711-680-001. I'll allow, 2 minutes for call-ins and 3 minutes for the questions. And this is questions of Mr. Eugenio only. Only. Okay, if you have any questions about the traffic study, that gentleman has not come up yet for testimony, so let's just keep it where it is right now. Thank you.
We have no callers at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. So at this time, I'm going to open up to the commissioners. Commissioners, any question of Mr. Eugenio?
Hi,
Yes, Commissioner Santana? Is this Commissioner Santana?
yeah.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So, the license number 4 set on number 7. And on that this is me. Traffic, but how long is that the public is not gonna, this is the public right away, so I'm wondering how long it's gonna take the construction, because traffic over there is complicated, and I'm wondering how the public is gonna have access there, so.
Mr. Eugenio, if you're able to answer that, I don't know how far in you're involved yourself in the construction phase, but maybe you can give us a time frame or a projection of how it could be done.
Sure, yeah, I think, our construction contractors are also on the phone, so maybe they can add to it. But, I mean, typically, if you're replacing sidewalk or a curb, it should only take, 1 day, and that would be to jackhammer out the curb, and then to pour the curb, the depressed curb at a new grade. But what happens, would be that the concrete needs at least 7 days to cure before it is driven over. So at that time, the depressed curbs could not be used, and there would be cones or coverings over them for 7 days in order for the concrete to cure. But just construction time to do a curb and to pour it, it would only take about 1 day.
And of course, there would be on-site construction as well.
Correct.
Commissioner Santana, anything else?
No, I don't have a question. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Okay, all right, any other commissioners? Okay, hearing none. Okay, Mr. Maricondo, please call your next witness.
Yes, thank you. I'll go to Ken Sherman of Stonefield Engineering.
Okay.
Hi, good evening.
Raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can the plants be taken down if you're not going over them?
Sure.
I'm sorry, yeah, we can remove those. John, do you need to refer to them at all?
I think I'll share them myself from my own desktop.
Okay, I got it. So just what that's being done, just for the record, state your professional background. I know you've appeared before this board numerous times.
Certainly. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the College of New Jersey, expert in the field of traffic transportation engineering, prepared over 100 traffic studies for land development applications.
Yes, being accepted as an expert witness, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Carrick, you have an opportunity, of course, to review all the site plan and application submission documents, is that correct?
That's correct.
And in pursuant to that review, you had an opportunity to review the site and interact with the applicant and the site engineer, is that right?
That's correct.
And based upon that, you did an analysis of the site as it relates to the modifications that are being proposed on the site and the impact on the surrounding area in terms of flow of traffic in and out.
Yes.
Okay, could you give us the benefit of that analysis?
Certainly. So, as part of this analysis, we first start our review by looking at the existing site, the existing conditions of the fronting roadway network, and I'll pull up sheet 2, which is that existing conditions plan of the site plan set. So the site's located at the northwest quadrant of 21st Avenue and Madison Street. 21st Avenue, it's a well-traveled roadway in Paterson, especially in the stretch here that's between Straight Street, a name I can never say correctly, and Beckwith, where you get good two-way traffic flow that helps get traffic to and from Interstate 80. In the vicinity of the site, 21st Avenue, there is on-street parking on both sides of the road. There are a number of properties that have driveways, turning maneuvers, and of course there are a number of cross streets like Madison Street where there are turning maneuvers as well. So there's quite a bit of activity here, but it's all what I would consider to be at more city speeds. It's city driving conditions really at its heart. Madison Street is a one-way roadway. It's headed south toward 21st Avenue, so you could turn from Madison Street onto 21st, but you can't turn from 21st onto Madison. And Madison Street also provides parking along both sides, but I think it's really important to note that in the existing condition today, there is no parking permitted along either frontage, just based on the location of the intersection, the driveways, how they currently exist today. It doesn't permit on-street parking along that frontage. The existing use itself is the service station with 3 service bays, a small convenience shop, and 2 gas pumps. So that's 4 fueling positions. They can with 1 car on either side of the pump. Without a canopy. And this is what I like to consider your classic city gasoline station with the service bays, the small C-store, on a corner lot of a well-traveled roadway. In my experience doing numerous of these gas station projects, what we're seeing is that the industry's pivoting away from these service bays. One of the biggest reasons is that the new cars just don't break down nearly as much as older vehicles did. And this site dates back to the 1950s, and auto repairs were certainly more common back then than they are now. These breakdowns that do happen, they tend to be a little bit more complicated. People tend to use auto dealerships instead of these gasoline service areas. And then for your typical maintenance items, brakes, mufflers, oil changes, there's more specialty locations, Pet Boys, Meineke, Firestone, that are used more frequently now than, say, the classic service bay at a gasoline station. Usually, in my experience with these types of developments, where we're switching service bays into a newer use, a redevelopment of the site, we've seen a lot of service bay conversion to convenience store. That's not the case here. What we're proposing is roughly the same size convenience store as previous at 525 square feet, but instead an expansion to the gasoline fueling canopy, as I show page 3 of the site plan, to provide 5 pumps or 8 vehicle fueling positions for the site. And what this does is, instead of generating additional traffic to the C-store use, it's simply providing additional fueling areas for gasoline fueling use. The fuel use itself doesn't generate more traffic based on the number of pumps that are there. When we see more pumps, it's indicative of higher demand at the site, but it's usually tied to either a bigger convenience store offering, or it's tied to higher traffic volumes. Maybe it's on a state highway, or it's tied to low gas prices. That's always a driver with these fueling stations, but none of those things are related to the actual inclusion of more pumps. What more pumps does is it provides more filling positions on the site. It provides a vehicle who comes in off of 21st Avenue to find a fueling position that is that aligns their car with the gas nozzle of the pump, and so that way the vehicle doesn't need to recirculate, do a 180-degree turn on the site. Whereas in the existing condition, if you come in on 21st Avenue and there's a vehicle in that first spot, you'll need to usually turn all the way around to the other side to get to the fueling position that you need. The new configuration allows for more vehicle fueling positions without an increase in traffic. To give the board a little bit of an idea of what kind of traffic we expect for the site, we did conduct a trip generation analysis. We used the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual. It's an industry standard for forecasting traffic from developments. There's a number of gasoline station and convenience store type uses in the trip generation manual that ultimately are related to the size of the convenience store for forecasting trip generation by the site. So really, an expansion to the fueling positions, the data suggests, isn't going to increase the traffic, but it's about the expansion to the C-store. The convenience store here is very small, 525 square feet. The highway convenience stores, Quick Checks, Wawa's, even some 7-Elevens are 10 times the size of this convenience store. So the offerings there are much more expanded than the offerings could ever be here. This is a store that's really meant to serve that local community. It's what is desired per the redevelopment plan, not to have those big businesses, but a small community business like this where you can pop in quickly, get a convenience item of need, and it's not a long-term destination. I know the Quick Check and Wawa's, people go there for lunch, sit in the parking lot for 45 minutes while they use their lunch hour up away from the office, whatever it might be. This is not that kind of use. It's a pretty quick turnover type of use. Getting into, so I guess I should touch upon the actual trip generation numbers. I apologize, I glossed over it. Those IT numbers suggest that over the course of a peak hour, that peak hour of traffic, there would be 26 trips generated by the site, in and out combined. So that's about 13 vehicles. That's a relatively low number of vehicles to access this site, and that's pretty consistent with what we've seen at other, what we'll call, non-highway gasoline stations with a limited convenience offering. There was a plan later in the set that shows 8 vehicles at the pumps along with 2 on Madison. We think about 13 vehicles coming to and from the site. The likelihood over the course of an hour, the likelihood that they're all 8 or more are staged at the pumps is virtually non-existent. The added pumps provide security that vehicles will not need to queue into the street. It provides a quick and efficient way for vehicles to fuel without really adding additional traffic to the roadway network. Getting into the actual layout of the site, so I just want to make sure we compare the existing and the proposed. I think that there's some definite benefit to the interior design of the site where in the existing condition we have a large masonry structure that largely consists of the service bays. There is vehicle storage along the west side of the site for that repair element, and the 2 pumps in front. The proposed condition removes that building and instead shifts a smaller convenience store building to the northwest corner of the site. The southerly set of pumps remain in virtually the exact same position. I think it shifts by about a foot, but they're in the same location that they are today, and then a new set of pumps on the north part of the property are added, and that can really be accomplished by reducing the total building area of the convenience store on site by removing those service bays. It otherwise frees up a lot of space on site. Now on the west side, instead of storing vehicles for repair, we're able to use parking spaces for the convenience store, which is not something provided at in the existing condition for the site. One other thing to note here, Mr. Deutsch made a great comment about the circulation of the plans. It was showing exclusive ingress from Madison and then exclusive egress 21st. Obviously, a use like this, which is predominantly pass-by traffic, predominantly captures traffic from the road, it's going to need both ins and outs from 21st Avenue, and we would revise the plans to show those types of movements. The driveways themselves, they provide the 25 feet from the curb line, and we're a little bit short on the property line, but I want to note that on Madison in particular, the drop curb that we're proposing lines up very well with the canopy itself, the middle of the canopy. So the turns in from Madison essentially align you toward the middle. They give you the option to go left or right depending on which pump is open and which side your fuel tank is on your car. And then on 21st Avenue, we want to maintain some spacing distance between the driveway to the east for this driveway to the west. So the location here allows for a good circulation with right turns coming into the site. The location of the westerly driveway allows good circulation for left turns coming into the site, and also provides great circulation for cars that came in on Madison or cars that were at the parking spaces to leave the site effectively on 21st Avenue with a quick right turn maneuver out of the site. Let's see, going through, just want to make sure that I'm covering everything here. The parking was touched on a little bit in the letter. We technically do not require a parking variance because we are in the Fifth Ward redevelopment area. However, based on ITE data, the 5 spaces for a convenience store this size is more than adequate to support the parking demand, and this is a very fast turnover type of convenience use. There's not as much offering as some of the larger highway convenience stores for patrons to possibly browse and peruse and otherwise take time to be parked here and do their shopping. The distance, Mr. Deutsch commented on 19-foot distance between the spaces and the vehicles, and when a vehicle is fueled here, that distance may be as little as 19 feet, it may be a little bit higher depending on how they stage, but I think the most important thing is the permanent structures that are on the site, and the parking spaces back to those U-shaped bollards is a total of 27 feet, which is in excess of that standard 24-foot wide drive aisle, provides effective circulation for those turning maneuvers, and ultimately would work safely and effectively for these parking spaces on the site. Last, the tanker circulation, as the engineer touched on, comes in on Madison, would stage in this fueling zone, to fuel the pumps. The tanker activity is pretty minimal. The occurrence of tankers is pretty infrequent for a size of this site, and I don't think, based on the other driveways provided, that tanker would not have a significant impact on a day-to-day basis on the site, and otherwise the tanker would operate smoothly and effectively. So overall, I see the proposed development, existing gas station, service bays, small convenience store, reducing that to just gasoline station with convenience store. I think that's a benefit for the site and for the community. It lowers the intensity of the use while providing better service times at the fueling pumps. The pumps themselves remain generally in the same location, which is an existing condition. We know it works. And the driveway locations themselves have been shifted slightly to improve the circulation on the site, but otherwise function safely and effectively for what I would say is a pretty low generator from the perspective of a gas station type use. It's not your highway super convenience store. It's a pretty low community gas station convenience store use for the site, and that really goes hand in hand with the zoning requirements, prohibiting those larger chain businesses in this zone.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Turak. We appreciate your testimony. He's available for any questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, so at this time, I'm gonna open it up to the public. If anyone from the public has any questions of Mr. Korak, please call in at 973-321-1579. The meeting ID number is 711-680-001. And again, these are questions from Mr. Korak only based on his testimony. And I'll allow 2 minutes for call-ins, 3 minutes for the questions. Thank you.
We have no callers at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. At this time now, I'll open it up to the commissioners. Commissioners, do you have any questions of Mr. Korak? Commissioners?
This is Commissioner Dean, Madam
Yes,
Chair.
Commissioner Dean, yes, Commissioner Dean, please go right ahead.
Alright, so just to clarify some part of the plan, so question to Mr. Court that, so the current plan, where is going to be the convenience store? Is it in the same location or is moving to the west?
Yeah, the convenience store is moving to the northwest of the site. So in the current plan, the convenience store operates in this area. On that portion.
Yes.
And so you can see here there's been 3 service bays.
Right.
Yep, and then that building is being removed. There'll be a new building with a convenience store, and then there's the restroom as well, up in the northwest corner.
So entrance will be facing east, am I right?
I believe the entrance is facing toward the south of the convenience store. There's an accessible path for the ADA space that ramps up, and then the sidewalk here. So the store entrance, I believe, is on the south side.
Where are the 4 parkings?
Correct.
So then why the handicap parking on the other side? It could be right in front of the store, isn't it?
That's a good question. I would defer to the site engineer, but having worked on a number of these types of projects in both site civil and traffic capacities, it's likely an issue with the grading. When you have an ADA accessible space, you need to make sure that that you do have those level grades and proper turning areas, and there's very strict standards that go with it. So I suspect that, one, with the grading for these spaces, it wouldn't be a feasible configuration, and then 2, trying to keep that grading consistent with the fueling, the pump location, I'm sorry, the underground fueling tankers, underground fueling tanks. You know, there's smaller manholes. There's obstructions that make that path technically not accessible. Even though you and I might find that it's very easy or straightforward to walk across, it wouldn't meet those Americans with Disabilities Act stringent requirements for that path. So that's why the accessible space is up at the top portion of the site.
Sounds good. All right. So one more question, Shakar. So all the 5 stations will be covered by canopies, and there would not be any more kiosks. Am I correct?
There's a kiosk underneath for the cashier. But yes, it would. All vehicle fueling spaces would be underneath the canopy.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Shakar.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, any other commissioners? I'm sorry, is that Commissioner Cleese? No. Who did I hear? No, it's not. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, is that Commissioner Santana? Please go ahead.
I have a question. For the delivery truck, usually won't be an estimate time when this set delivery truck in that area, and whether that's going to create any impact on the traffic.
The question is for the fueling delivery. How long will it be on the site, basically?
Yeah.
Right. I would defer that to the applicant based on his experience with this site. I know that different operators have different times and durations that these fuel drops occur, depending on how much fuel is ordered. I would have to defer that question to the applicant.
Okay. So Commissioner Santana, we haven't heard yet from the applicant. He'll be next. Do you have another question, or you can save this question for the applicant himself?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, is that Commissioner? Who's that? Who did I hear?
That was me. I said, yes, Fisher.
Oh, Commissioner Fisher. Okay, I vaguely heard your voice. Okay, Commissioner Fisher, please go right ahead.
No, I don't have a question. I thought you were asking the commissioners here. I just said yes.
Oh, okay, no. All right, so then, if there's no other questions of Mr. Korak, okay, then I'm going to ask Mr. Maricano to bring in your last witness, please.
Sure, thank you. We'll call Mr. Singh, who's the owner-operator.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and other members of the Paterson City Board. Thank you.
Please hold on 1 second, sir, so I can swear you in.
Sure, sorry about that.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
State your full name for the record, please, and spell it.
My full name is Gurinderjeet Singh. Gurinderjit. Last name Singh, Singh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh, what is your position with Power Gas?
I am the president of the corporation and current owner and operator of the power gas station.
Okay. And as such, you're fully familiar with the existing operation as well as the proposed operation, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you have many years' experience in the service station business?
Yes, we've been there for almost 20 years.
20?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And with respect to all the testimony we've offered on your behalf tonight, you are in full agreement with that testimony?
Yes, sir.
And you've heard Mr. Deutsch's report and comments and your professional responses to those questions, is that right?
Yes, I did.
And you're in agreement with any adjustments that have to be made or will be subject to city engineer review?
Yes, I am.
Okay. One of the commissioners, Commissioner Santana, asked, when fuel deliveries are made on the site, our experts have talked about where it will occur. The concern was how long does that take and at what times of the day, perhaps?
Usually we get the delivery in the after hours when there is not much traffic, and it's preferred by the drivers and preferred by us. When the delivery truck comes, anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes to deliver 8,500 gallons of the fuel product into these tanks.
And in your experience, obviously of course, this is going to be a substantial upgrade to this site, but that process has occurred on this site in the past, and it's functioned okay?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it will, going, on the 4-pump and moving the building, the garage building there will substantially make space for the delivery truck and the car drivers.
So this site plan, as testified to by your engineers, will actually upgrade the efficiency and safety of this process?
Yes, sir. It very much improves the site. It will look better, and it will also very convenient for the drivers, because right now we can only fuel 4 cars at a time. Once we have 4 pumps, we'll be able to fuel 8 cars at the same time, so there's no clogging. And like one of the expert witnesses said, it's a very slow street, the traffic's slow. So it will give more, to the customers, and they will not have to turn the car in the property. So this is how we have designed it to make it more convenient for the customers and less hassles for the traffic on the street.
Okay, you indicated that the deliveries occurred in the afternoon, did you say?
Yes, after hours, when there's no traffic there, usually.
What do you mean by after hours? I'm sorry.
After hours means after 8 o'clock, there's not much traffic on the 21st Avenue and Madison Street. So we like to get the deliveries between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. when there's least traffic on the street.
Okay, all right, no problem. And your operation is open 7 days a week, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we'll stay the same.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I have at this time, Madam Chair.
All right, I'm going to open this up also to the public, and while we're waiting for the public to call in, I'm also then going to open it up to the commissioners. Okay, so if anyone from the public has any questions of Mr. Singh, all right, please call in at 973-321-1579, and the meeting ID is 711-680-001. And while we're waiting for those calls to come in, commissioners, is there any commissioner that has any questions of Mr. Singh?
Yes, Chairwoman.
Yes, Commissioner, yes.
So, Mr. Singh, so yes, I just additional question with Commissioner Santana. So, you are not providing any traffic report. So, as you have mentioned that the fuel delivery will come after 7 p.m. until the morning. That's what you said, overnight. But
yes, Commissioner, we try to get the delivery in the hours when there's less traffic. Yes, please.
got it. All right. So, all right. Thank you. Yeah, this is it. Actually, just to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, I think this question is for Mr. Korak. Did I hear you? I'm just going back to Mr. Korak. Mr. Korak, did you say that that there's going to be a set revised plans for the Ingress and Egress on 21st Avenue?
Yeah, so I could pull up my screen again. I think that would be helpful.
And while we're waiting to see if anybody's, Madam Secretary, has anybody called in?
We have no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, Mr. Korak, yeah, I'm just, I think you said something about revising the plans for, Egress and Ingress.
Yeah, so it wouldn't change any of the actual engineering in the drawings. The engineers added these flow arrows for traffic direction, but I think that we all can agree that having an out only to 21st Avenue significantly reduces, one, the viability of the site, but two, it's not an ideal traffic flow. You have to circulate up street and then back down Madison in order to enter the site. It doesn't make sense from a traffic flow perspective. It doesn't work that way today. The curbs today are largely in the same location, support two-way traffic, and we would look to continue that in the future.
Okay, understood. All right, there are no, commissioners, no one has any questions?
Madam Chair, Mark, can I ask you a question to,
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Ford?
Yes, Mr. Warren, go ahead.
I believe there is no left turn, on 21st Avenue from the subject property.
I don't think there are any restrictions on that today. I don't recall seeing signage out there restricting that movement. It's sometimes a tough movement to make during the rush periods, but as far as a formal restriction, I do not believe there is any.
But you are not going to, are you going to have any sign, but if you, the picture shows that just a right turn, you know, from the subject property on Madison Avenue, so are you going to have that, like, just to make right from the subject property, or?
We're not proposing, we're not proposing to restrict the movements, no.
So what I'm asking this is, I think, you can get up from the subject property through Madison Avenue, then you can make left or right, that's one option you have. You know, that's one thing, and, if you, I mean, I'm not sure you are allowed to do that or not, so, if you restrict the left turn from the subject property on 21st Avenue, what will help traffic even better, because if anyone needs to make left, they can go through the Madison Avenue.
Yeah, understood that they could do that off Madison Avenue. I think that the site itself, really looking to limit the amount of, let's call it 180-degree movements or turning maneuvers on the site. I can put the plan back up again to maybe provide a little bit more visual here. I keep taking it down, so I apologize. So if you were a vehicle at the fueling canopy that was going to go out 21st, you would need to make that 180-degree turn on the site. It's a little bit tighter for that maneuver. But if you came in on 21st and were fueling at the canopy, not taking that 180-degree maneuver, and this is, I would say, the predominant condition. The majority of traffic is going to come in on 21st, and then they are going to circulate to the fueling canopy, and then they will pull forward out on the Madison and then be able to do the maneuvers there. So I think that in my opinion, the concern is largely alleviated by the flow of the property. It's really conducive to in on 21st, out on Madison. But again, this is a convenience-based use. We do need to have that two-way access both ways. And for the convenience store traffic that does use the parking spaces, the left turn on 21st is advantageous for the site functionality.
I just want to interject something, because I believe this is all going to need, regardless of whether you want the egress, ingress, whatever, or and the traffic flow appears to be better to you. I believe the city engineers have the final approval. Am I correct on that?
That is my understanding.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah, that's my.
We understand that we're subject to engineering review, yes.
Right, okay, just so we're all on the same page here. Okay, good. All right, any other questions?
No, thank you, Madam Chair, thank you, Mr. Park.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dean. Okay, so, no other questions, commissioners? Okay, so,
Madam Chair?
yes, Mr. Aquaviva.
Yes, before a motion is made, I just want to put on the record that the waiver that was discussed and that Mr. Deutsch pointed out in his report should certainly be made a condition. Although it is in the body of Mr. Deutsch's report, it should be made a condition in the resolution that the waiver sought must be obtained from the city of Paterson because the proposed construction is in the public right-of-way, which is pretty much under the jurisdiction of Public Works.
I just wanted to ask if my experts are all in agreement on that. John and Joe?
You're muted. Madam Chair, you're muted. Madam Chair, you're...
Sorry. So that being said, okay, Mr. Maricotti, would you like to summarize, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Mr. Singh one brief question to follow up, if I could. I apologize. Mr. Singh, you described for us the fueling up process. How long does it take? You told me off the record it's a pretty brief process.
Yes,
The fuel delivery.
fuel delivery usually takes anywhere 15 to 20 minutes.
And that's a standard in the industry, is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so
We appreciate the board's time this evening. We tried to present a very detailed presentation in terms of the expert testimony on an engineering and traffic basis. This is a very long-established Paterson business. It's been a staple on the 21st Avenue neighborhood corridor for a long time. We're very happy that it's part of the redevelopment zone, and frankly, this type of service business for the neighborhood is exactly what the Fifth Ward redevelopment plan envisions in the neighborhood commercial district. This is a substantial upgrade, I think, based on all the testimony you've heard this evening. I hope that the commissioners would agree. Provides better, more efficient, more safe service, and we hope the board will take that into consideration, and we ask the board's consideration as for a motion for approval. Thank you.
thank you very much. Would any commissioner like to make, yes, I see Commissioner Udine, you have a question you want to make?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, before I go to the motion, can I ask a question to our board attorney, Mr. Akoli?
Yes.
So, Mr. Akoli, you have heard from the owner of the business that the delivery of the fuel come between 7 p.m. and the party morning 6 a.m. he said. So is it possible for us as board to put a condition just stating that what time would be the delivery time? Can we do that?
Need to make a motion with that included in it. At that point, whether it is seconded and whether it is approved, that's another issue.
I have a question because I mean, just based on the fact, I mean, obviously deliveries come in the evening. There's nothing I don't believe that can, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I don't understand this, but I don't think you can actually put a time frame like they must be there by 7, they must leave no later than 11 or whatever. I don't know because you don't know like what time they're actually gonna come. If they get stuck on a highway, if they get stuck at some other gas station with a problem. I do think that I don't know, Mr. Aquavita, what do you think?
Sure, if the commissioner wants to make a motion with that court-served restriction, he has the ability to do that. Now, whether it's seconded and whether, it is voted upon at that point is another issue. And another commissioner at that point can make a motion without that restriction. But the short answer is yes, he could make that motion. Obviously, if the applicant is not satisfied with that, and wanted to take this application to an appeal, another level based upon that restriction, they would have the ability to do that. But the short answer is, if you wanted to put that kind of restriction in there, in his motion, he couldn't.
So I have a question to the attorney. So how can you have
Excuse me, Commissioner Brooks, Mr. Udine has the floor right now. I'll come right back to you. Go ahead, Mr. Udine.
Madam Chair, actually, it could be I don't really want to put a restricted time that is between this time that everybody has to come up. The concern is, I'm thinking about the school hours, like from 8 o'clock to 3:30 at 4 o'clock. We can at least state that in this time hours, everybody should not come just to avoid traffic. I don't really want to put really restrictions, but I just want to think about the traffic hours.
I'm having trouble, excuse me, I'm having a lot of trouble listening, so with the court reporter. Whose mic's on, please, and if so, please shut it down. All mics off, because we're not hearing him properly.
Am I good for that?
Thank you.
Commissioner, I heard you. Well, are you done? I'm sorry. I don't.
Yes, I'm done. If you heard me completely.
If you're talking about a limitation on store hours, well, honestly, that's governed by the ordinance.
No, I did not say 4 hours. I'm sorry, Mr. Akubib. I'm sorry. You heard me wrong there.
Okay.
I didn't say anything about 4 hours. I said about the delivery time. And it was just, we are not my point is not that to state limited hours for delivery, but to state certain time delivery should not come, maybe from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, just to avoid like the really traffic time, especially school hours. That's the only concern, but the rest of the time they can come at 5 o'clock maybe, but you won't decide, so it can come 12 a.m., whatever time it is, but just to avoid the concern in the school hours, Paterson Public Schools, if you take about 21st Avenue, it's in a mile there is a school.
Mr. Operino, can I interject on behalf of the applicant? We have no problem with not making deliveries, of course, during the school hours. The applicant's already stated on the record that those deliveries occur on a general basis within his profession and on this site between 7 p.m. and the early morning hours. So we're not looking for any expansion of those hours, and we understand that concern and accept it.
Commissioner, does that representation on the record satisfy your concerns?
Yes, I mean, if it is in the record and if it doesn't, bother our, residents and the, whoever going to, our students going to school, because we have to,
It appears that, Mr. Maricona, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it appears that you're okay with that restriction. You're out of the delivery station.
Certainly no deliveries during school hours, yes.
I said, Commissioner, when you do make your motion, just include that in your motion, and then I will put it in as a condition, on the resolution if the motion is approved.
right, perfect, thank you everyone.
You're welcome.
All right, so I heard Commissioner Brooks, do you have a question?
My question is to the attorney. I just don't understand if you have a motion and you put a restriction in on a time, I don't get it. So if I don't feel that the time is necessary for the restriction, but I would vote for how do you do that? How do you separate that?
Well, right now, I think Mr. Maricona has alleviated that issue by putting on the record that he's consented to it. Exactly. It's not something that Commissioner Dean needs to actually condition his motion on. He will, but, with Mr. Maricona consenting to it, that's alleviated any conflict with that. But again, if you're not comfortable with the motion, if Commissioner Dean's motion is not seconded, you can make your own motion without any restriction.
My question is to Mr. Singh then, I guess, and my question is to Mr. Singh. Can you guarantee that deliveries are not going to be made sometime during the day? Can you guarantee that? Because if we can't enforce it. So that's my concern.
Ma'am, I just want to...
You can't guarantee that, can you?
No, we cannot guarantee it. We will, try not to get the deliveries on those hours.
Right.
Which Ms. Chairwoman has said that sometimes they get stuck in traffic. This is the reason. And sometimes the trucks, they break down, or sometimes the refinery has an issue. But that doesn't happen every day.
Right.
It happens maybe twice a year, maybe 5 times a year, I don't know exactly.
Right.
But we don't want to be out of gas. Because once you're out of gas, then you have the traffic there. People come in, they get upset because, you cannot turn, either you shut it off, if you're open, people will come in, and they get very upset if you don't have a gas.
I understand, Mr. Singh. That answers my question. All my concern is that we don't make a motion that we can't, and put a condition in, that we can't justify. They say that the delivery hours is after a certain point in time. There's nothing that we can do to condition something, because if they do have deliveries between 4 or between school hours or whatever the hours are, what can we do? The motion is carrying a condition that we can't carry out. That's right.
So Mr. Maricona, so based upon Mr. Singh's testimony just now, I would imagine, again, not putting words in your mouth, but I would imagine that you cannot consent to the suggestion being offered by Commissioner Udine.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought it was clear his testimony earlier that there would never be a need for daytime deliveries during school hours, but except in cases of emergency,
Right.
for urgent need, which I understand. So obviously that would be the only time that would occur. Whatever way the board wants to couch the motion, I respect and I thank Mr. Singh for being very candid about that. That there might be a rare occasion where a delivery because of a shortage or traffic problem and outside of his control caused it to occur during the daylight hours. So I apologize for not being accurate in that respect.
Commissioner Dean, and actually, all of the commissioners, the zoning laws, other than municipal land use law, basically allow commissioners to put what are known as reasonable conditions in a motion. So the question becomes, what is reasonable? Well, the only way that issue is going to be resolved, if it ever gets resolved, is in court if the applicant doesn't like the approval, if there is an approval, that's being granted tonight. The applicant can then file an application with the court to challenge that restriction. So, can you put that restriction in your motion? You can. If it's seconded and it's voted upon and it's approved with that condition, if the applicant lives with it, he can live with it. Otherwise, he has whatever recourse every other applicant has, which is to file an application or file litigation with the court to remove that restriction. So I hope that clears it up, but the short answer is yes, you could make a motion with that restriction. Whether it gets seconded and approved, that's another issue, and whether the applicant wants to challenge that, that's also a further issue. But Commissioner Brooks, your point is well taken, but that kind of a restriction could be placed in a motion.
Okay, I think though the applicant, I'm just gonna finalize by saying, I believe the applicant has already said in good faith that they're gonna try not to have any of these deliveries during school hours. Things happen like everything else in the world, so we have to either go with the flow or Commissioner O'Neill, if you're gonna make the motion, do your thing, and we'll see where this goes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Kuliva. And I'm addressing to my commissioners at the board that the reason I don't want really the restriction, it might happen anytime, anywhere. But we all understand that, as Mr. Singh mentioned earlier, that the delivery will come after 7 p.m. or in the morning. He stated, and what I have done is I actually linked it at the time, whatever he said, just to mention it.
I'm sorry, I have a lot of feedback, I can't really hear much.
Please mute your mics, only the person who is speaking should be having their microphone.
Mr. Singh, I see your mic is on. Can you mute your mic, please?
So, alright, so the commissioners, the reason I added this condition is school hours, which is very limited, 7 to 8 hours. And the reason it is because of our residents, because of our students and teachers. And I'll go with the board motion, and if you love it, so we'll go with that. And besides, Mr. Singh mentioned that it's 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. We are not going to limit that hours. We're actually giving him more hours than whatever he stated in front of the board. So if Madam Chair approve me, I'm going to go with the motion.
Make your motion.
Thank you. On the application of Hargis Inc. 2449 Morris Avenue, Union, New Jersey 07083. Property address 195 21st Avenue, aka 200-204 Madison Avenue, block 6008, lot 6. I note that the board attorney prepared a resolution granting, give me 1 second. Granting site one approval of variances subject to city engineer and Harrison Essex County, Essex Pacific Soil Conservation District approval with the condition of no fuel delivery in the school hours.
Hey, can you specify to the best that you can what those hours are?
8 p.m. to 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m.
3 PM?
3:30, yeah.
Okay, and also, as I indicated, Mr. Harris put on the record that there is a waiver required for the construction in the right of way, that needs to be obtained from the city of Paterson, so that would also be included in your motion, it's on the record.
All right, sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, do I have a second?
Seconds as well, Mr. Aquilino, for the Ingress and Egress.
I didn't hear that.
There was a condition about revised plans being submitted for the, Egress and Ingress.
Isn't that the same issue we're talking about with the waiver?
I don't know, I just wrote the 3 down and that's what I have.
Yeah, Michael, Michael, what was that?
The plans are showing right turns out, but that's not what the applicant is going to do.
Okay, so what exactly would the condition be, as best as you can say?
What are the revised plans going to show?
That's my question.
Mr. Clark here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the plans would just remove those flow arrows, so the driveways would not have turning restrictions. That's the only revision to the plans.
Thank you.
Okay, so, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second, roll call, please. Hold on a second, so, the revised plans, I just wanna say something also, the revised plans also have to be approved by the city engineer.
Yes.
Okay, so, alright, so we're good, okay, so, roll call, please.
Commissioners, Commissioner Ahmed,
Yeah.
Commissioner Brooks,
I abstain.
Commissioner, Cleaves. Yes. Commissioner Santana. Commissioner Eugene.
Ethan, yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
The Vice Chairman Fisher.
Yes.
And Chairwoman Northup. Chairwoman Northup, I don't hear you.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
Don't anybody go anywhere in terms of the commissioners? Do we have any additional business this evening, Mr. Deutsch? Okay, your mic is off.
Madam Secretary, do we have any resolution to adopt this evening?
No, we do not, and we do not have, anything pending either, thank you.
Alright, so when is our next meet? Yeah.
Tuesday, January 26th.
Okay, that's a special meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good enough. Alright, then, those that are leaving, safe home, everybody else be safe, and we'll see everybody on the 27th. Good night, everyone.
6.
Oh, it's the 26th? Sorry, everybody on the 26th. Alright, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Everyone, good night.